Sri Lanka's apparel industry has been firefighting these last few months. When the second wave of COVID hit, it was the apparel industry that was unfairly and unjustly blamed for apparently being the root cause, an allegation not proven to date. What we have forgotten is that Sri Lanka's apparel industry is globally recognized for its ethical compliance, or it would have no customers. It is the country's largest employer, largest exporter, and largest industry empowering rural populations. I spoke with Yohan Lawrence, ex-member of the Joint Apparel Association Forum and past chairman of the Sri Lanka Apparel Exporters Association, to get some answers to the questions that have arisen. Yohan, the industry has been accused of a number of things since this COVID cluster problem hit, from the factories having inhumane working conditions to not looking after their workers properly, and even allegations of modern slavery. Is there any truth to these allegations?
Sri Lanka Apparel is a world leader both in ethical and labor treatment and the environmental sustainability. Our business comes to us from a number of international brands, and it's important to know that these brands have their own independent monitoring mechanisms. These audits, which include third-party interviews, sometimes individual, sometimes in groups, sometimes on-site, sometimes off-site, will all therefore have an independent monitoring mechanism that brands use to assess companies. RAP, which is the big American audit organization, publicly on their website lists all of their locations that have passed their audits, and they have over 100 odd individual companies that have been either gold or platinum status. So the point is, there is no systemic failure of the industry to treat its employees. If there was, quite simply, brands would walk away.
Those working in the industry were shunned by their communities when the problem hit. They were not served in their neighborhood kadis, they were not allowed to take public transport, they were even thrown out of their hostels. How do we change this perception?
And the treatment of people was borderline criminal and most certainly inhumane. And this is at a time when they needed the support of their communities the most. In fact, communities that these individual girls have contributed to through spending their wages. So it's really quite sad and quite ironic that this happened. It's important to note, however, COVID is not an apparel problem. COVID is a global problem, and that requires both global and national level solutions. And we are working very closely now with the MOH and the BOI in order to help educate people at the grassroots levels and help train people as to how to deal with the crisis of COVID. I think it's also important at this point to look at this question of the origin of the virus. And we know that it did not originate at a Brandix plant. The patient was detected only after a random check. In fact, to date, the authorities have still not been able to pinpoint the source of the primary infection. Hopefully, though, we are past the initial chaos and the panic reaction of people, and as society is learning to live with the COVID virus, we hopefully are getting to a more tolerant and a more understanding way of dealing both with people who have the infection and people who have either primary contracts or work for companies. So I'm hoping that we're now getting past the worst of this.
What do you think the people of this country need to know about the industry and how it is run?
So I think it's important to emphasize both the breadth and the depth of the industry. So we employ 350,000 people directly, and we touch the lives of well over 1 million people. We have over 250 plants located across the breadth and the width of this country. Just to give you an indication, based on the research we've done, a plant that employs 1,000 people will, into its regional economy, put 50 million rupees a month. That's through payments to employees, through suppliers, and so on. The multiplier effect of this on the local regional economy cannot be understated. And this is really important because our plants, yes, we do have plants that are located in zones, but we also have plants located in remote areas. Also, I think it's important to remind people that the CSR activities that factories take is just inbuilt to what we do. And this is a myriad of things, from simple things like helping schools, helping local water supplies, working with libraries, local libraries, etc.
From a broader perspective, looking at the industry, where does it move from here?
After tourism, the apparel industry was the worst hit. And to date, we've lost something like 28% of our revenue compared to last year. That said, the industry is resilient. We have a history of overcoming challenges. And we're confident that within the next 2 to 3 years, we will once again return to be the size of the industry that we were. The post-COVID world makes a number of changes to us. A number of our buyers are moving away now from the bricks and mortar store. People are buying on the internet and so on. And this is now developing a B2C model where businesses will sell direct to customers. Sri Lanka is really well placed in that. We have an excellent support network of distribution, storage, so that we're actually working very closely with the government on regulations to allow companies to ship directly to customers. So this will be a significant change in the business model, and I think Sri Lanka is well placed to be able to take advantage of that, given our infrastructure in the country and the number of options we have on shipping and so on. I think the other point for the industry is we are building our backward integration. So we have, the government has now committed to the Eravur Textile Park in Batiklo, and that will be a park, an industrial park purely for the textile industry. And this is important for a number of factors. One, it's going to lead to import substitution as it allows us to buy more fabrics locally. It will also increase the value addition that the industry has. We have currently about a 52% value addition. We'll allow that to go up. And this will, and it will also help another region, another area which could do with the development. So we're confident that we will come out of this crisis. We're working very closely with the authorities on this to make sure we have the frameworks in place. And we are confident that we will be a significant player in the global apparel sourcing agenda going forwards.
It has taken about 30 years for this industry to become a global titan. As Sri Lankans, we must be proud of that. By being understanding of the ground situation, comprehending the challenges and being a part of the solution, we can continue to give the industry that has given lifeblood to nearly 1 million people a reason to continue doing what they do. Thank you, Yohan Lawrence, for joining us on Ceylinco Live. Let's talk.
With Ceylinco Life Pension Saver, Sri Lanka's premier retirement plan, start planning for your retirement today. Ceylinco Life, a relationship for life.